Welcome to this channel once again. My name is Akinwale. I will be teaching today on TPM 103, Man, Location, and Resources, which is one of the courses for the transport management students. And I'm sure it will also be an elective course for other departments, especially department relating to environmental management like geography and so on. Okay, so this is for the students of the National Open University of Nigeria. And so I'll be going through this course for the students. So everyone taking this course will find this video very uh, educative. Okay, so this is a two-unit course. Okay, it's a first semester core course that carries 2 credits you did for first level of the Transport Management and Accounting program, right, of the Faculty of Management Sciences at National University Nigeria. Okay, so we are looking at Module 1, Introduction to Human Geography. We have 3 units there, Scope of Geography and Human Geography, major subdivisions of urban geography. The unit 3 is on spatial interactions, location, places, and perception of the environment. Okay, so let's look at unit 1, which is on scope of geography and human geography. So, geography is generally known to be the study of man and his environment. So, man, wherever he or she is found, all right, is relating with his environment. Okay, so maybe you're in a tropical environment, maybe like Africa, or you find yourself maybe in US or in Canada, all right, where the climate is different. But wherever man is found, you find man interacting with his environment one way or the other. Okay, so geography is a discipline that makes man understand the basic attributes of the environment and how to relate with the environment as well as other components of the environment. All right, so it's about location and places. So I'm sure you are familiar with the continents, right? All right, one of the least explored continents, which now that is changing, is the Arctic region, Arctic, Antarctica region, where you have, basically ice, right? I've read so many stories of expeditions being made in the 1800s, 1700s. We want to be the first person to reach the Arctic region. So the Earth has always been of interest to human beings. Lots of people die. A lot of people died, those expeditions to get to the Arctic region. But now, it's easier now. So we have permanent stations in those regions now. Scientists are there all year round, all right, taking data. So man, no matter how harsh the environment is, man has always tried to understand it and even conquer it. All right. So geographers are concerned with locations, directions, all right, distance, distribution, places and regions towards understanding how these phenomena relate to man and themselves on the earth in general. Okay, so let me pick on like for example, let me pick on distribution. What do we mean? Right. So, for example, now certain kind of animals are found in certain areas of the world. Right. So, if you look around, you can't find lions everywhere. Right. Like people say, lion is the king of the jungle. Then you have people countering that. Okay, that's okay. Lions are not found in the jungle. You find lions more. All right. In savanna areas. All right. So you expect to find fish, right, inside the water. All right, but you discover that different species of fish are found in different areas. There are some of them you find in salt water, some of them you find in fresh water. So there's distribution everywhere. All right, you are looking for high concentration of black people in the world. Of course, you'll be looking at Africa. All right, you're looking at Africa. So distribution, is also of interest in geography. Where do we find certain resources? All right, where do we find certain species? All right, then density is also related to distribution. How many of a particular species? All right, how many of a particular resource can you find in a defined land mass? All right, so you might find, look at Lagos, for example, is one of the challenges that Lagos is facing, all right, despite all the opportunities. So you have so much opportunities in Lagos that everybody wants to be in Lagos, all right, and that creates, population, a very high population density. So you have millions of people crammed into a small space, and that creates challenge. Then you go to some other, maybe some other areas, all right, in the country. Then you have lands, expanse of land everywhere, and they are, sparsely populated compared to Lagos or compared to Kano, for example, or compared to Port Harcourt. So the study of population density, the study of distribution is also of interest in geography. So getting to know where people, places, and activities exist, where they are, where are the people. All right. So if I'm looking for Caucasians people, where am I going to find them? All right. If I'm looking for Asians, where am I going to find them? All right, if I'm looking for a particular type of resources, as I'm looking for lithium, where am I going to find it? If I'm looking for crude oil, where am I going to find it? All right, so allow us to understand why and how they get to be located where they are, and the peculiar attributes or characteristics that establishes the variations or differences. All right, let me take crude oil for example. One of the key factor they use to define or characterize crude oil is the amount of sulfur. All right, the amount of sulfur in the crude oil, and it's of concern to the environment. But when you are burning the crude oil, the sulfur oxidizes, all right, to SO2, SO4, and of course, those gases, are gases that can combine with water, and cause acid rain. So the level of sulfur in the crude oil, all right, matters. And, it has been discovered, even though you have crude oil, all over the world, all right, the level of sulfur differs. And that makes the crude oil from certain countries to be preferred, all right, over the crude oil from other countries. So this is what we're talking about. Um, so the study of geography focuses on lots of issues that are directly and indirectly connected with locations. I think I've established that. All right. So there are some areas that are very rocky. All right. There's some areas that there's some areas that you have mountains everywhere. All right. There are some areas that you just find forests, all right, everywhere, all right, for miles. Okay. So it's like that. So you have water area, riverine areas, for example. You look at south of Nigeria. All right, so you have creeks all over the place. Okay. Um, so where are things, wild animals, forest fishes? Where are they located where they are? All right. Why is it that right? Leopards, for example, are found in certain parts of the world, and you can't find them in certain parts of the world. All right, look at the Arctic bears. They're always white, right? Arctic bears are white. If you go to other parts of the world, you see the bears are either black or brown. All right, but when you go to the Arctic, all right, they are white, which help them to, of course, evolution theory will tell you that it is a defense mechanism, it's a survival mechanism. So the white coloration helps them to blend with the snow in the Arctic region, which makes it more difficult for uh, maybe higher predictors like man to be able to locate them, and also help them to hide when they're trying to get animals to feed on so they can hide themselves. So what is responsible for the differences between your country and another country? So why is Nigeria different from Germany? Why is Ghana different from maybe Switzerland? All right. Well, so even in Europe, right? Even in Europe, all right. So you see clear differences between Germany and Britain, for example. Even though it's in the same Europe, you know clearly that there are people of different cultures, all right, different orientation. Okay, even within Europe. So you compare France, all right, compare France with Russia, for example. Both of them are in Europe, all right, but definitely they are not. The physical build is different, all right. The culture is different, the orientation is different. So geography is actually a very interesting course. Okay, so we have the categories of geography. We have physical geography. We have human geography. Take note of that. All right, physical geography, human geography. All right. Physical geography can be divided into many broad categories, all right, like biogeography, all right. Of course, when you see bio, you know, it has to do with life, all right. Biogeography, climatology, and meteorology. So that has to do with, weather science, okay. Coastal geography, which is also very important. Tides, so there are coastal tides and so on. Environmental management. Okay, how do human activities affect the environment? How do we ensure like what we call environmental sustainability? How do we ensure that while using the earth resources today, we do not hinder the ability of people coming tomorrow to also enjoy the same resources? So you have geomorphology, you have glaciology. Glaciology is very relevant in the Arctic regions where you have a lot of ice. So it's a science on its own study of glaciers. Okay. Hydrology and hydrography. Of course, hydro has to do with water science, water engineering, landscape ecology, oceanography, and quaternary science. So human geography can be categorized into different groups or branches. So earlier we talked about physical, then we have the human geography. So for example, study of population, very important. Okay, economics of land masses. All right, regional economics. All right, medical concerns, transports, political geography, political geography. Okay, for example, look at Africa. All right, so you have most African countries are they are conglomeration of tribes, and based on the map that the colonial masters drew, all right, at that time. Okay, so you have political geography, which is also very, very, very relevant. So it has to do with human consciousness, right? Uh, Things about how tribes, ethnicity, and so on affect political undertones in a nation. Okay, so that's the okay. So like we said, we have the physical geography and we have the um, human geography. So we have the tutor mark assignments. Remember that these tutor mark assignments are very key in Open University. So TMAs or assessments, drawn from them. Even exam questions, most of the time, many questions will be drawn from the tutor mark assignment, so you don't ignore them. Okay, so question one say discuss your understanding of geography as a discipline. Then list the branches of geography. So you might want to pause the video here. Then you go back. All right, go back on what we've discussed so far, and I believe that will enable you to be able to do this tutor market assignment. Okay, so let's move to Unit 2, major subdivisions of human geography, economic, population, political, urban, cultural, medical, social, geographic. So, okay, so we say here that geography is an interesting and highly respected discipline based on its focus on areas of location and human analysis. Right, it details relationship between humans and the natural environment. Right, how do you relate? All right, how do you know? So man has always been fascinated with his environment. Okay, well, as we're speaking right now, I think there are two Americans in space. They went to the space last year, right? And somehow um the vehicle that took them there had a fault, so they have to ship the vehicle to head to repair it, and they are stuck there. Okay, I think they are stuck there till March. All right, so they've been there for months now. All right, so it's part of the fallout of human interaction with his environment. So now, we exploit the earth so much now that, it's more or less now we're now going to space. We want to know what's happening in Mars. We want to know what's happening on the moon, right? NASA in America have been doing quite a lot of study on the sun. All right. So even though you can't reach it physically, but they are sending gadgets, all right, close to it so that they want to probe it so be able to know what's happening, on the sun. So the discipline also explores the spatial system that facilitates man's activities and the surroundings or environment in general. Another area of focus of the subject is his interest in studying the peculiarities of different areas, like regional geography. So, for example, all right, look at West Africa. It has its own, all right, it has its own uniqueness, all right. So you have the mix of francophone countries, all right, and with the English-speaking countries, all right. So you might want to look at that. If I want to look at East Africa, all right, the geography of East Africa, what is happening there, all right. Like for example, in South Africa, for example, all right, they have snow, all right. They've recorded incidents of snow in South Africa, all right. We don't have that in Nigeria. We don't have that in Nigeria. We don't have snow in Nigeria. So based on the region, the geography is actually different. Okay. Feynman, Gates, and Gestes explain that human geography deals with the world as it is and with the world as it might be made to be. All right. So I was reading recently, but I think there is one. They were showing two animals, all right, and those two animals are, they are the last of their type, the last of their subspecies in the whole world, just two remaining. So you can imagine, all right. So we have a subspecies of an animal that only two is remaining, and they are both females. All right, the last male died off. Okay, so which means more or less there is, that species has died off completely. And why? Poaching, right? People they kill them for food, kill them for, get kill for their skin and so on. So woman has always been interacting with this environment positively and also negatively, unfortunately. All right. So it gives information and explanations on humans or people concerning the environment. It analyzes the spatial dimensions of man. So, for instance, the location where they are, what are their peculiarities, and how do they connect or relate with the environment? All right. Like I gave the example of bears. All right. So in the Arctic region, you have the bears being white. They have white hair. All right. So for them to be able to blend with the ice, okay, which made them more difficult to detect. Then you go to maybe United States. All right. Then you see the bears are black. All right. You see the bears are black. All right, the same animal, but different regions, and then you have different skin color. All right, then I'm not sure we have bears in Nigeria. All right, I don't think I've ever read of bears being discovered in Nigeria. So we need to be able to look at that. How come we have some animals that are more or less, specific to a particular region? All right. So every step of man, we always have reasons to be connected with our environment. So this area of geography assists us to understand our environment, help us to understand the world in general. It also made various factors or circumstances that determine how, why, and when a man or woman beings relate with the environment. Like, for example, I give the example of animals. Why do we have poaching, right? People need them for, maybe they need any part of their bodies for drugs, right? Skin is needed for maybe for making shoes, making, you know, bags, and of course, the primary need of man, food. Okay, so we have that relationship, uh, with animals, all right? We are also relating with plants, the flora. For one reason or the other, some of the plants are medicinal, all right. Some of the plants are medicinal. Some of them are good for food. Some of them are good for aesthetics. Or basically, you just yeah, it makes our environment fine. So you want to plant roses, all right. You want to plant hibiscus. You want to plant all these flowers that look good. So we have different motivations for connecting with our environment. So the differences between various countries, regions, and locations in particular are often made known or best described by through the knowledge of human geography. It's pertinent to know that man's activities are dynamic over space. So we keep on changing, all right, over time, even generationally, all right. Priorities change in the way we interact with the environment. Okay, so that's the end of Unit 1. Unit 2, major subdivisions of human geography, economic, population, political, urban, cultural, medical, and social geography. Okay, fine. Let's go straight. If you have questions on any of my explanations, you can always drop your question in the comment section. I'm going to reply as far as I could. So, human geography. So, geography provides us with the opportunity to describe our environment, both physical and human issues that exist in different parts of the world. It's a discipline that educates us about how physical features and conditions of the environment can affect us and how human activities shape the environment. All right. It's worth noting to know that the processes and patterns that shape our society globally are best understood through the study of human geography. So, what is the connect between humans and the environment? How has human beings been able to relate with the environment? All right, look at UAE, for example, United Arab Emirates, all right, maybe like 70 years ago. All right, so they have been, so the place is more or less like, basically like a desert, more or less. All right, but with the discovery of crude oil and visionary leadership, basically. Look at now, they made that place, which was once a desert, they've made it the tourist center of the world. So everybody that has, they want to go, they want to go on vacation, all right? Everybody want to go to Dubai for vacation now. So a place that was like just 70 years ago was more or less like a no man's land. But look at it today. So that's a very good example of a positive way. All right. So you have a lot of artificial lake, artificial, ocean, able to do a lot of engineering. They brought the best of the best engineers in the world, water engineers, construction engineers, and they did wonderful things. all right, with the money they made off crude oil, and look at what it is today. So that's a very good example of human interaction with the environment. All right. It's pertinent to know that geography, particularly human geography, is connected with various disciplines. All right, so you have to look at economics, how the human interaction with the environment, how does that affect economics? I just give an example of Dubai. So look at how Dubai has changed, how they have turned that tourism. So you go there now, you stay, definitely you're going to pay when you go on vacation, you're going to pay for accommodation, you're going to use their taxis, you're going to eat, all right, you're going to buy souvenirs where you are living. So it's a boom. It's an economic boom for them. All right. So the interaction is as is transforming the economics of the country. All right. It's also connected to politics. All right. It's also connected to politics, so political environment. All right. So human geography, you also need to look at politics of the region you are studying. All right. You look at sociology, all right, the study of societal dynamics, all right, psychology, history, demography, all right, population, study of the population distribution, tourism, urban planning, transport medicine, and so on. Therefore, human geography is extremely inevitable in the analysis or discussion of man's spatial activities or issues on the earth surface. All right. Um, okay, fine. We also have medical geography. All right. The study of medicine relates to or requires some knowledge of understanding of the environment. Seasons of the year goes with different diseases. All right. Like for example, things like maybe like pneumonia. All right. Most likely will be more common during the rainy season than in the dry season. All right. Even malaria. All right. Most likely will be more common in rainy season than dry season. Why? Because you have puddles, you have rain puddles, rain has caused puddles everywhere. So a little uh depression, on the road, in the bush, water is gathering there, and of course that creates opportunity for mosquitoes to lay their eggs. And so you're going to have more mosquitoes, maybe most likely more in the rainy season. And of course, more mosquitoes means more more malaria, all right, because they are the vectors. Okay. So heat stroke will be most likely be more common during dry season when there's heat. So you have people just fainting, all right, because of heat. People die, all right. People die uh, through heat stroke all over the world. That happens. Okay. Similarly, different location of the earth have various or peculiar diseases. All right. So there are some countries that are, for example, look at Nigeria and polio. Nigeria had a very high rate of polio, all right, many years back, but due to a lot of efforts, all right, within and outside Nigeria, they've been able to bring it as low as possible. All right, so does medical geography adopt the ideology of geography to investigate health-related issues? Indeed, the adoption of geographical perspectives and methods in understanding health-related phenomena is the main focus of medical geography. So, in some environments, look at, for example, uh, first world countries, they have challenges with obesity, right? They have challenges with obesity. So you can see, because of the quality of food they eat, they have access to food. Food is cheap. But like in Africa, we are producing a lot of food, but because we don't have the proper distribution network, we don't have the proper preservation system. So people were they're creating foods and the people are still going hungry. All right, but over there in the first world countries, they don't have problem with food. Food is cheap. All right. So because of that, people eat and eat and eat. So they are challenging obesity. And of course, obesity is tied to health problems. All right. So you may discover that obesity challenge in the first world country is going to be higher than in the third world country. Okay. Then of course, like I mentioned, things like polio, you find it more, like in a third world country than in a first world country, all right? Because in the first world country, their vaccination technology has really really stabilized over hundreds of years, all right? So all those things are not a problem, to them. Okay, so that's medical geography. Then you have cultural geography. So this area of human geography describe and analyze different languages and cultural peculiarities. So look at Nigeria's people, they say there are over 250 tribes in Nigeria. So maybe even say 300. All right. So like for example, now you pick Yoruba, for example, you just okay, you think the whole Yoruba, okay, all the states are speaking the same language. All right, it's not entirely correct because even within Yoruba, all right, I'm a Yoruba person, all right, but there are some Yoruba tribes that speak, and I don't understand what they're saying. All right, like for example, Elijah people are in those states, all right, but they have their own version of language. And if you are a Lagos person, all right, a Lagos Yoruba person or a Ibadan Yoruba person, you don't understand what they are saying, all right, but to them it's still Yoruba. All right. So within Yoruba, you have several dialects. All right. You can pick Hausa language and you think just think Hausa language is generic. But by the time you start moving close, all right, so people from the north, you begin to see that there are variations. All right, variations of the Hausa language. The same thing for Igbo language also. All right. So all these peculiarities are there. So cultural geography makes us to understand that variations exist in our languages, right? And how these factors differentiate humans from various continents of the world. All right. So you have like in East Africa, you have Swahili, which is more or less like, the language that connects countries across East Africa. All right. Then we have the leading languages, leading quote and unquote, right? Like English, right? Based on the influence, the English, the French, the German, the Spanish, all right? So they are business languages. All right, so unless you don't want to do business, that's why you don't learn them. Of course, for example, you have some countries that basically they've developed their own internal specialty when it comes to language or preference. Like a lot of Asian countries, they prefer using their own local languages as lingua franca. All right, but you can't say no, since it's not those languages are not too well spoken outside Asia. So because of that, even they, all right, when it comes to politics and business, they have to learn, right? To have interpreters that can interpret for them in English, in French, in German, or in Spanish, for you to be able to interact with the outside world. All right. So that's cultural geography. You want to look at culture, all right? Cultural peculiarities. You want to look at language variations in a country, in a region. Okay, you have population geography, very interesting. So this area of geography deals with population distribution. All right. So how many Caucasians do you have in a particular area? How many blacks do you have? How many Asians do you have? All right. It's a very interesting topic, even though sometimes it could be very divisive. So if you look at what is happening, generally globally now across the world, there's a lot of upheaval happening in the first world countries. All right. Tensions on population density, population distribution, all right, uh, migration policies. I'm sure you will have noticed, all right, all over the world. So it's becoming, a major topic for global leaders, all right? So you can't ignore it, all right? You can't ignore population. And, we can't, because, for example, the more people you have, okay, let's say a family now. So you have a man and a woman, they get married, all right? So maybe the two of them are working entry level jobs, All right. So maybe within like the first 2 years of marriage, they have a baby. All right. Now they have an extra hand, extra man to feed. Okay. And so they have to either work harder or work smarter. All right, to be able to accommodate that. Maybe the next 2, 3, another 2 years or 3 years, they have another baby. So over time, maybe they have like 4 children or 3 children. All right. So those 3 children at the time is okay. Okay, they're just in primary school, you're coping. All right. Then they move to secondary school and the expense increases. And they move to university. All right. So things all right. The parents have to work smarter or harder to get more money. What am I trying to say is that population creates a strain on your income. All right. It can be a strain on national economies. All right. But is also another way to also look at it is that population can also become a source of strength, especially for a nation if you know what to do with it. And China is a very good example. All right, China is a global leader today. You can't ignore them. Basically, because of their population, they maximize how to combat to turn their population into a producing mass. So if you have big population and they have, they have consumption mentality, that country is going to be in trouble. All right, but if you have big population, all right, and you are able to turn it around, it can also become an edge. I'm saying this for us to know the importance of population geography in national development and even in global politics. It's you can't so you need experts in these areas to actually advise governments on how to uh, look at population and manage the resources of the organized of the nation. Look at China at the time their population was going out of hand. So they have to do a policy. You can't have more than one child, right, in urban areas. So it became a state policy. All right, you can't. Everybody's yeah is limited to one child. So once they have that one child, that's all. Okay, because their fear then that time was the population was blowing out of proportion, so they may not be able to manage it. The population may outgrow resources. All right, um, and if you're a student of economics, also, I'm sure you'll have heard of the Malthusian theory, all right, where the guy said that, if population is growing at a geometric proportion and your resources is growing at arithmetic proportion, you are going to have a point at which there will be an explosion, and so population is going to be forced to be reduced. So you're going to have revolutions, you're going to have wars, you're going to have diseases, which will kill off a majority until the population normalizes, right? And researchers say the only reason why that Malthusian theory did not come to pass is because of scientific discoveries on, especially in the area of agriculture, the industrial revolution, and people kind of find a way of doing doing mass production in agric. So you solve that problem. But you still see that theory, um, coming to pass in small populations. All right, I was reading recently of the Ireland. There was a time that Ireland had, a starvation crisis. They had a famine crisis. A lot of people died. Millions of people, Irish people died. So they call it during the potato. I think they call it the potato famine or something like that. So the potato they planted that year had diseases, it had blights, and so they couldn't eat it. A lot of people were hungry. Millions of people died. All right. The same thing happened in India. All right, several years ago. All right. Millions of Indians died. All right, during a particular famine. Population is very key. You have to keep your eyes on your population so that you don't have overpopulation. Once you have overpopulation, the country is in trouble, especially if you don't know how to turn that population into a production mass, all right, like China did. So it's important for transport managers to consider the various dimensions of the population about infrastructure development. For instance, considering the aged, children, women mobility needs indicate that population geography is inevitable. All right. So how do you move children? How do you move children? How do you move the aged? All right, is of concern. Now, don't forget also that your population distribution also determine whether your economy is active or not. So, for example, now you have aging population. So you have the majority of people in the country above 50. Majority of the population is above 50. That country is be in trouble, in years to come. All right, if they don't watch it. All right, and I just even talk about it in that's also one of the reasons you have many first world countries being open to immigration. All right, so because maybe because they have aging population, so they need to inject the population with young bloods because it's basically the youth that do the running around that powers the economy of a nation. All right. So another interesting example is the rate of migration, movement from one location to another. I've talked about that. In some cases, demographical status determine the rate of development. I've talked about that also. So if the majority of your population is aging, then the country is in trouble or will soon be in trouble. All right. If the population, if the majority of your population is under 18, it also means the country will still be in trouble, all right, because they are not working, they are dependents. All right. So if you have, I remember when I was doing economics in second, we used to do, calculations around that time. I think I did one. All right. I think that also in my work, I think I did the question like that. All right. So you have to do is it a bar chart or a pie chart. They'll give you the population of the country, they'll give you the aged, right, above 65. They will give you the age range between 0 and 17. They give you the age range between 18 and 60. So that will help you to be able to know. And of course, the working population is 18 to 60. All right. So anything below 18 is dependent, anything above 60 is dependent. So if your dependents, if the people below 18 and above 18 combine together, they are more than the people between 18 and 60. That country is in trouble. So that's why census is very key. All right. That's why census is very key for national planning. So you're able to know. All right. So you have to give it to the first world countries in this area. So let me just see all those green cards. Just think, oh, they are being magnanimous. It's not really that they are being magnanimous. All right. They've done the study. They have the fact. They have the data. All right. So they know they need to inject the population with the working class people. If not, productivity is going to fall. Okay, population geography quite interesting. Economic geography. So these are interesting area of study that all human beings directly or indirectly involved. Every human being has reasons to or for using space. All right. In other words, every change of location by man has one reason or the other. I talking about Lagos. All right. Well, why is Lagos overpopulated? All right, compared to the surrounding states. All right. Why is Lagos overpopulated? All right. And you see that population is, if you're familiar with Lagos, you see that population is spilling over to Ogun states. I was looking at one data recently, all right, and it was showing, the economy of the southwest states, all right, and of course Lagos is the highest, all right, and you see Ogun State, benefiting from its proximity to Lagos. So you have a lot of people that are working in Lagos, but they are living in Ogun State. And by tax law, you don't pay your tax to the state where you are working. You pay your tax to the state where you are resident. You are living. That's what the tax law says. All right. So they being in Ogun State. their tax have to be remitted, even and they are working in Lagos, their tax have to be remitted to Ogun State. So that's a very good opportunity for Ogun State. All right. So the idea, the byline in Ogun State, they build in Ogun State. Of course, they are buying the building materials from Ogun State. They are going to go to market in Ogun State. So is they are getting that benefit. All right. If you look at the states that have the highest number of universities in Nigeria, I think it's Ogun State. The last time I checked. All right. And basically, what the driving factor is still that proximity to Lagos. All right. I have to give kudos to Ogun State on that. They are maximizing that, that proximity. So we go to market to get our needs. We visit industries and factories to get, raw materials or finished products. All right. We do business in different areas of our environment. So there's a linkage between all these, types of, like I said, so there's a linkage between the population. All right. So we talk about population geography, we talk about the economic geography, talk about political geography. All of them are connected. All right. Because, for example, let's look at population. The more populous, all right, a country, a region, or a space is, the higher the economic turnover. It's as simple as that. All right. The reason Lagos is having the highest GDP, all right, relatively, is because they have more people. All right, they have more people living there. All right, they have more people, and so the more people they have, all right, it impacts on the economic turnover. All right. So the sort of economic geography allows us to best understand the importance of locational features concerning human economic activities. Great. All right, then we have social geography. So take your time to find out where clubs, cinema houses, tourist centers are important to know. So people have to relax. Okay, so people have to relax, people have to cool off. All right, so you work from Monday to Friday. Then you have Friday, you say, it's GIF. Thank God it's Friday. So people want to relax over the weekend. All right, forget about the stress, forget about the boss, about the customer that is shouting at you. Okay, so there's a need for recreation, there's a need for refreshment, there's a need for reinvigoration. So that creates opportunity for clubs, for cinema, tourist centers, and so people go there to more or less get distracted. Okay, and also to refresh themselves. So you also need to know the special connections of these places to man. Good inquiries about these issues will give you the privilege to understand why, how, when you behave, all right, respond to social issues. All right. So this area of geography could describe the relation of social phenomena within the context of space. In other words, the spatial dynamics of social phenomena are best understood through social geography. All right. So man's interaction within the society. Okay. We have political geography. I've talked a little bit about that. So human beings are political animals. So we want to naturally, even within the family, you have politics. All right. So understanding the special dimension of politics is the focus of political geography. Of course, politics is tied to societal leadership. So we need to have a structure for leadership in the society, and that's what political geography is all about. So all political parties want votes from different communities or areas. This implies the lack of knowledge about an area of communities in political activities driven into the ocean. So if you are not familiar with the culture of the people, how are you going to get their votes? How are you going to get them to believe in you? So that's how you do campaign. Like even on campus, we do campaigns. Somebody wants to be the social secretary. Somebody wants to be the SCG president. You have to campaign. You have more. What is it called? You have more manifestos. And the essence of the manifestos is to be able to prove that you have a connection with the people. All right. So this area of geography includes the spatial context of politics. The focus is on differentiating political and administrative regions or areas. This is important because there are always differences in areas or locations. All right. So who are those located in a particular area you want to know? What are the political advantages of specific locations? All right. So um I don't want to go too much into, all right, but you notice that in some environments, all right, you notice that even in some states in Nigeria, it's quite that leaders of some states are always coming from a particular section or a particular location. All right. Yes, that's the truth. All right. So it happens. So a lot of time when somebody wants to you want to lead, all right. Uh for example, a state election sometimes you notice that sometimes they will tell you a particular local government. If you can win that local government, it's like the job is 50% done. Yeah, I don't want to start going into to political details. All right. So, but there are some environment like that. That once so if you major on that particular local government, all right, it's already it's like 50%. All right, is done. All right. So you want to take note of that. How does area differentiation affect votes? All right. So you have five local governments. All right. So if we lose this particular local government, all right, is it the end of the campaign? Okay. How and why are communities structured? What are so, for example, who are the youth leaders? All right. That's very key, especially in Nigerian politics. So you have somebody that is called, the youth leader. And of course, you want to win that particular community, you have to bring the youth leader to your camp. Okay. What are the links between government and communities and the people? Okay, so what is the government doing? All right, what can the government point out that is what we have done? So you have a somebody in the Senate representing the community. All right, what has he or she done? All right, to connect with the aspirations of those people. All right, how are boundaries formed and managed? Why are boundaries important in politics? All right. So these are serious issues, especially in African politics. All right. Boundaries. So where are you from? All right. Who is your all right? Who are you from? Who are your parents? All these things are very, very, for now, in African politics, a lot of references are being made to that. All right. If you look at that, for example, in Africa, you see that okay, you have somebody that being a president, and by the time you check, his dad had been a president also earlier, all right, in the country. Of course, it happens outside Africa also. Of course, it happens outside Africa also. So, boundaries, your nexus, your cell, basically, all right, sometimes affect, how far one can go in politics, and it's quite interesting. It's quite interesting when you are looking at these dynamics, being played out. Uh, in especially in African politics. Okay, settlement geography, which is also very interesting. The locality where you live can best be described through settlement geography. All right, so the area where you are settled. Okay, so for example, now so you have this idea. So this was okay. I'm in Lekki. All right, of course, in Nigeria, when you hear somebody staying in Lekki, there is a kind of big boy or big lady aura that goes with that. Okay, and there's also some other areas we mentioned that okay, this is where you are living, or you are staying, or you are coming from. Good look at it and say, no, this one doesn't have money. All right, so settlement geography. Okay, so where are you staying? All right, who are your, who are your neighbors? So it entails the study of a given geographical areas. These areas can be described in terms of their size, in terms of their functions, in terms of their patterns. For instance, how will you differentiate between towns and villages? All right, towns and villages. Then you can have cities. All right, so you have cities, you have towns, you have villages. So if I ask you, all right, is your place of birth, All right, is it a city or a town or a village? Some people might be confused. All right, because of even though you may know the truth, but because of this, woman, it's just human ego, you just want to prove that your place is a city, not where it might just be a village. So, what makes urban areas urban? Why or what makes rural differ from the urban settlements? All right. Like for example, now I noticed a trend. A lot of people who are living in urban areas are moving to rural areas, especially young people, right? Getting fed up with the stress of living in the cities, the road ups, all right, the unsanitary settlements, all in the name of I'm living in, in a big city. Okay. And people are not living well. All right. Congestion, you have areas, houses congested together, all in the name of I'm living this. So a lot of people can now, enjoying themselves. So you can rent a three-bedroom flat in a rural area for a ridiculous amount of money. Also, and many of them have lights, right? Many of them they have lights. So if you have lights, all right, and you are doing maybe you are doing farming. Many young people are now going to farming, all right, get acres of land, all right, and they are living very well. Okay, so that's also another interesting area, settlement geography, the study of the locality of the pros and cons of where people are settled or where they are living. Okay, I hope I've done justice to that. So, tutor mark assignment, discuss the focus of women geography, list the subdivisions of women geography, describe briefly the focus of each division of women geography. You might want to pause the video at this point and go over what we have discussed again. Thank you. So, okay, we move to Unit 3, spatial interactions, location, places, and perception of environment. Great. So just like every other discipline like physics, biology, chemistry, using different concepts to provide or describe phenomena, geography also aligns with others in terms of using concepts to describe or discuss issues. All right. So, for example, place or space is very important to not only geographers but also to discipline that relates to have links or have links with geography. So, for a transport student, space, place, locations are issues or concepts that cannot be ignored in your daily discussion activities. I'm sure you'll have had, stay out of my space. All right. Especially people from, outside Africa. All right. So you can't just walk too close to somebody, right? The person get tense, right? Maybe in Africa, the person might not mind you getting too close, but outside Africa, uninvited, you don't even move too close to people, right? Because I don't know you, I didn't invite you, why are you in my space? Okay. So yeah, so everybody have his own space, all right? Uh, a step you take occurs in space. So we are all living in our space, individual spaces, all right? Even though there's a collective space, the Earth, everybody, one of us, have our own individual space, all right? So you have a child, the child has his space or a room, okay? The parents have their room, okay, we have a parlor, all right, where the entire family can socialize. Okay. So there's a space for every human being. So in geography, to be precise, location is fundamental to spatial interaction or relationship. All right. So the basic attributes of a location are either a magnet that will pull or attract interested people and activities. On the other hand, it could be a repellent. I think I've explained that. I was giving an example of urban and rural area. All right. So urban areas, for example, have lots of opportunities. I look at Lagos. The headquarters of virtually all the banks in Nigeria are in Lagos. So you want Bangkok, you want to work in a bank as a young graduate. So where do you go? You go to Lagos. All right. Virtually all the companies, even though they have headquarters in Barakat, Virtually all of them have presence in Lagos. Okay, the port is in Lagos, right? So you have the power port. Okay, so that creates a lot of opportunity, all right, for people living in Lagos. So it attracts, all right. But you might also want to look at challenges, all right, of being maybe of living in a place like Lagos. So you want to rent a self-contained, all right, self-contained apartment. You might be surprised that in some areas you're looking at, all right, upwards of 1 million naira, all right, to rent a self-contained, all talk of a one-bedroom flat, two-bedroom flat, and that may be a challenge, all right. And so you find people now living in very remote areas. So you find that happening not just in Lagos, you find that happening in Abuja, find that happening in Port Harcourt, all the commerce centers in the country. All right. So it's good that people that yes, you get job easily, but the affordability become a challenge. So you see people living in satellite towns, and that creates a stress of its own. All right. So you have to wake up like in Lagos, people wake up maybe 3:30 a.m., 4 a.m. to resume work by 7:38. Okay. So when you pick a space, when you pick a location, we have to look at what is it that is pulling people to that location, and what is it that can repel people, can discourage people, all right, from that particular location. Okay, great. So an interesting illustration is the citing of industries or industrial location issues. There is a need to consider certain factors. Okay, so in economics also, we talk about location of industries, location of industry and localization of industries. So uh, why do you have oil companies, right, located in Port Harcourt, in Malaysia, for example? Why? Because the crude oil is there. All right. So they need to be as close to the raw material as possible. So access to raw materials, right? Topography of the land. Okay. So you want to look at, right, is the area, is it flood prone, for example? You want to look at economic advantages. Have you noticed that when a bank, open its branch in a location, so you have Access Bank being there. After like 1 year, you find First Bank there, right? After like another year, you find UBA there. After another year, right, you find which other one, Fidelity Bank, like that, like that, like that. So all the banks tend to, I'm sure you have noticed, they tend to cluster together. All right. So you say, these guys are competitors now. Why are they in the same area? All right. Get. All right. So it's not just they're not only competing, they're also collaborating. They're also collaborating. A very good example is cash. All right. Okay. So a particular bank A is short of cash. All right. They do it. So you can just go to Bambi with your cash manager. All right. And say, look, we are short of cash. Can you give us some cash? And they are having excess cash, all right, which is above their insurance limits. So instead of the challenge of them transporting that cash maybe to their head office, all right, then they may want to just exchange the cash locally. Okay, so you can see basically the advantages of clustering together. So so this implies that every location or place has certain attributes that make them important and which may facilitate the movement of people. Okay, similarly, some place location may contain features that can hinder or prevent movement. All right, this corroborates the fact mentioned earlier that peculiarities of place or location determine how human beings can interact over space. I give the example of the Arctic region. All right, even now that with all the science and technology, how many people will you find living there? All right, so the temperature is, the cold is unfriendly. So it's like all year round you're having winter. All right, it's not going to be funny. It's not going to be funny, especially if you are not, you are not from around that area. For example, the Eskimos. The Eskimos are born and raised in, those areas, so they are used to it. Okay, so scholars affirm that place is mixed with human values and principles. In other words, every place has values to users. It makes meaning to users and plays vital roles in human life, particularly behavior. Okay, great. So it was exemplified that the fact that place is an interaction of three components. So you have the physical setting, the physical outlay of that environment. Right? Is it mountainous? All right. I remember in my service here, they were telling me of a place, right, in Adamawa, for you to access that particular village, you climb the mountain for 5 hours. So imagine you want to visit a friend, and you have to climb 5 hours to reach that friend, or you're going to walk, and you have to climb, do mountain climbing for 5 hours to reach the office. Okay, so physical setting, all right. Then activities, all right, going on in that particular location. What are the activities? I gave the example of Lagos. A lot of commerce is going on, all right. In Abuja, a lot of opportunities are there, all right, because that is the seat of government. In Port Harcourt, you have oil companies, all right. In Kano, you have a lot of commerce also going on. So this attracts population, all right, these are child population because of the activities going on in those areas. So physical setting of the location can either attract or repel people. Activities going on can either attract or repel people. Okay, the meaning. All right, so that's another thing. Meaning of that location to people. This is my hometown. No, so it's not. So it doesn't matter whether it's a village, whether it's only three huts that are there. People have that emotional connection, right, to where they are born. Okay, so you see people, people travel all the way from Europe every year just to go and do celebration, with their people, go and do New Year, right, with their people, and they spend millions, and they don't mind. All right, just to connect with that their, you know, with their own time annually. So it's worth mentioning that size is important in discussing place. You need a place may be small but could possess tangible resources or potential that will make it to be reckoned with. On the other hand, a place may be big but may lack needed resources. So people don't bother. Okay. As a transport manager to be, you need to know and to understand the concept of location or place. Scholars argue that the physical setting of a place or location plays significant roles in facilitating the goals and aspiration of users. So, for example, in desert areas, there's what they call oasis. All right, oasis. So that is a place where you have water, you have palm trees in a desert. So if for example you are traveling in the desert, right? Well, what are you looking for? So you are going to have the map of that place. You will have noted all the houses in that particular area. And it's what basically all the travelers in that desert will be meeting in that particular place. All right. So to cool off, maybe for one day or two to rest because of the attraction of water, the attraction of palm trees, shade. Okay. So physical settings matter. I give the example of the place where you have to climb five hours to reach. You check and cross check your motivation for going before you take such a journey. So it was emphasized that physical environment have very real, immediate, or long-term impacts on human behavior and their mental and physical health. Okay. So as a transport student and future transport manager, you should have it in mind as working ideas that places have the location, all right, direction and distance. A particular place is noted to be situated in a specific location. For instance, the place you are is located where? So where are you right now? Where are you staying right now? All right. In the effort to describe the place, you'll be compelled to give directions, right? Oh, my house is number 31, uh, Olaoshi becomes sweet. All right, opposite market. all right, or near post office. So you want to give directions, all right. The distance, how far is it? So you want to travel to, all right, you want to travel to Kano, for example, and you're in Abuja, so you're going to fly. You want to check what is the distance between Abuja and Kano? How many minutes will it take, all right, the plane for me, to fly from Abuja to Kano. It's part of characteristics of location. Meanwhile, this description is in connection with other places. That is, you will end up using the place to locate a place. All right. I think I was okay. I was opening an account recently and I was writing my address and they were asking the nearest bus stop. All right. So in case they want to do address verification, they need that nearest. So you need the location to describe the location. Great. Every place can be described in terms of size. Is it large or small? Is it a small village? Is it a big village? Is it a big city? Is it a small town? All right, so we can use size, all right, to describe places. Places can have special attributes like physical, like for example, the area can be mountainous, all right. The area can be, all right. So you have forests all over the environment, okay. Uh, the area could be stony. You have stones all over the place. If you go to Abeokuta, for example, in Ogun State, so you have you have the Olumo Rock, of course. But I noticed going to Abeokuta that you have, you see somebody, you see a house, then behind that house there is a small rock. You will see another one house again. Behind the house is a small rock. You see another house built on the rocks. Almost everywhere in Abeokuta is rocks. All right. So physical, you look at physical attributes, we look at cultural attributes. So what are the do's and don'ts? What is the belief system in that area? Then of course the economy, all right, the economy of the area. So this make it easy to describe a place. So take for example, how we describe places in the northern part of Nigeria. What attributes make a place differ from the others? So every place has its own peculiarity in terms of physical, in terms of cultural, in terms of economics. A place is not an island. I've talked about that. You need a place to describe a place. So even a place, interacts with other places. Okay. For example, look at sanctions. All right. Why is it that countries use sanctions? Look at what is happening in the United States of America right now. So you are more or less dishing out sanctions. It has impacts, all right? It has impacts. So, for example, now maybe your country, you don't really have this particular resource. You are importing it, and the country you are importing it from places a sanction or embargo on you. It's going to create problem. I read somewhere it nearly caused a war between water, nearly caused war between Singapore and Malaysia because Singapore didn't have water. All right, so they were depending on water from Malaysia, and it became a problem, at the time before Singapore was now forced to, work on the science of water purification. So they are able to generate their own water, pure water, pure water right now. All right, so they are able to, you know, uh, wean themselves off the reliance of Malaysia for water. So because you are not an island, so you always have a form of dependencies, all right, on other locations. So you have some, for example, a country can be landlocked, all right. So you have landlocked countries, all right, and of course that means you don't have a port, so a ship cannot, all right, be used to bring resources to you. It creates its own challenges. So if you're a landlocked country, you're also thinking of, all right, how you can have agreements, trade agreements with border countries that have a port. Okay, so uh, countries, places depend on one another for one reason or not, for one need or the other. All right, so top mark assignment, define the time, location, and place. Discuss with examples the understanding of spatial interactions. I believe you can be able to explain that right now. You can pause the video and if need be, and look at the explanations and see how you can answer this assignment. Fine. I believe we are doing well. But the two is, excuse me, population growth, distributional patterns, and characteristics of developed and developing countries. Okay, so we have four units here. Let's just move straight to unit one. Concept of population, population allocation, population and development. I love this topic. So, population growth and distribution are generally accepted to be a factor in the development efforts of any country. I've talked about this, and I give the example of China. At the time, they too were worried, so they have to place an embargo on number of children a family can have. So you are only limited to one. Okay, and so, but with time, they were able to, industrialize and the economy, and it's paying off. The numbers are now being used. It's now an advantage rather than a disadvantage. Okay, I think India is also doing a good job in turning population growth into strengths. All right, so population growth can be defined as an increase or decrease in the population size of living species, including human beings. Human populations are also subject to a natural process of birth and death. All right, of course, uh, once people are born, people definitely, uh, once there is birth, there will also be death. There has been a rapid increase in the world's human population over the last few decades. All right, in most countries, a lot of people lives in urban areas, so in detriment of the rural area. I think I've talked about that. All right. This trend has influenced not just the physical location of the population, but also the organization and conduct of the economic and social life of most people on the planet, both urban and rural areas. So rural areas. So you go to rural areas, so you find sparsely populated expanse of land. Then you come to cities, then you find people living in shanties. All right, people living in shanties, so you see them, the money straight up, all right, dress well. Then in the evening going home, go to ridiculous homes. All right, all in the names of living in the city. Okay, so it is one areas that one have to consider when you are looking at disparity between urban areas and rural areas. The United Nations estimate that between 1950 and 2025, the number of urban dwellers will have increased nearly sevenfold from 7.8 million to 5.1 billion. All right, so everybody wants to live in a city. Everybody wants to live because that's where the opportunities are. So it's not just that people, and of course, there have been testimonies of people that travel from village and they made it. All right. So if you watch Nollywood film, all right, you see a lot of films actually advertising that, or pushing that narrative. So you see John is there in the farm, and there is his uncle, his father died, and he's there to support his sisters. Then the uncle took the land from him, and he was now forced to go, to also in the city. Then he comes back with a jeep, and of course the uncle is sorry and the rest, and so they end the film happily. But that is the narrative that most of us believe, and so because of that, everybody wants to leave the rural areas and choke the city. Okay, so meanwhile, the world urban population is not distributed evenly among regions. Since 1970, the number of urban dwellers in less developed regions has overtaken that of the developed regions. All right, and the gap continues to widen. Right, everybody is living in the rural areas. Okay, so recently, about 1.7 billion urban dwellers, all right, live in less developed regions, while 68 million live in the more developed region. By 2025, 4 billion of the 5 billion urban dwellers are expected to live in the less developed regions. So, like I said, the trend is also changing. So you have many young people that are tired of the stress of the cities, all right, and they're moving to less developed areas. That trend too have started actually. So you have, I think I was reading recently a famous lawyer in Nigeria. All right. He wrote recently, he said the advice he would have given his younger self, all right, would have been to leave Lagos. All right. I'm sure some of you will have seen that social media posts, and probably you know what I'm talking about. Okay. So uh now, especially now that there is online opportunities, remote work. All right, that is also one of the factors that is driving it. So you can work, you can have a job in Lagos, and you are living in Oshobo. That is not possible. All right. So when you look at population of Oshobo compared to the population in Lagos, all right, you see that there's a big difference. All right. So so if you have a remote opportunity, all right, and so you can stay in a less developed environment. So far, you know you have access to power, you have access to internet, you're good. You're good to go. And even so many young people are just fed up. All right. So they rather take to, agriculture or animal husbandry, and it's paying off. It's paying off. Animal husbandry, uh, you know, farming. Okay, it's paying off for many young people. Many of them are making turnover in millions, all right, and they are living their life. They're enjoying their fishery, for example. There's also another thing that many young people are doing. So they have fish farms, all right, in remote areas. So they wake up at their own times, they live at their own times, they sleep at their own times, all right, which is not possible in an urban area. Great. Um, Population and development, I think I've talked a lot about that. The more people you have, all right, the more your economic indicators, the better your economic, all things being equal. Especially, like I said, if like China, you're able to create a production mentality, all right, in your people. So you have cottage industries everywhere. So China has been able, they are a model in that, followed by India. All right. So they encourage families, all right, to create, to produce. If you look around where you are, where you are watching this video right now, I can bet you over 60% of everything you have in that location, either in a room or in an office, all right, over 60% of gadgets, all right, devices in that room, in that location, in that office is from China as we speak right now. And I'm being conservative. And I'm being conservative about that. All right. So the every area of woman needs, China is there. And because they have the population, labor cost is low. So you have people, even you have businesses in Europe, in America, that is even having their production centers in China. So the head office is in America, the head office is in Europe, but the production company, the production center itself is in China. So which has, because of course maybe the average European guy maybe wants to collect, you know, uh, you know, maybe he looking at, okay, before I can do this, you have to pay me $300 per hour, and somebody somebody in China is ready to do that for $30 an hour. All right. So it makes economic sense. All right. It makes economic sense. All right. For those companies, all right, to in Europe, in America, to site their production factories in China. So there is a correlation between population and development. But there's going to be a problem where you cannot manage the population. You're going to be in serious trouble. So where basically everybody's consuming, so it's going to just be like a family where, okay, firstborn, all right, twins, all right, secondborn, triplets, all right. And you say, okay, let's try one more. Then you want another triplets, all right. There was a case I think I read of that, the husband just ran away. The wife gave back to triplets. The man just ran away. All right. And the issue came on the news media. People started donating money for the family, for the woman and the triplets. Then when the woman heard that, money is coming from left, right, and center, the man came back. All right, because the reason they ran was because he didn't have the money. He didn't have the resources to feed the children. So you can have overpopulation, right? So if population is not well managed. Okay. So population pressure as a result of demands for transport facilities that does not balance with the supply of requirements. All right. So this is a big challenge in many cities around the world. All right. So you know you are in a big city, you're in a bus stop. All right. So maybe a vehicle is coming, then going to a particular place, then you have one vehicle that will take maybe maximum of 10 people, 10 or maybe five people. All right, then you have 50 people in the bus stop. What's going to happen? What's going to happen is chaos. All right, you're going to have chaos. Okay. And if transportation is not well managed, so you're going to have arbitrary prices. So you are going, in the morning, you're going to work. So the price is 1,000. All right, going to work. Then when you're coming back, the price is 1,500. And they will tell you that if you don't want to enter, you can just step aside. And while you are stepping aside, somebody else is going to enter. Because these are realities in urban centers and they are stress points, they are pain points for people living in cities. Okay? So, secret to the foregoing, it is necessary for you to know how effective to manage population growth or fulfill transport planning. So, you can have too many people. Okay? And I was reading somewhere of a country where I think it was a city in Germany where the person was reporting that you don't need cars because every 10 minutes, there are trains. Every 10 minutes, there are trains everywhere. So why will you buy a car? Why would you need to stress yourself driving up and down when you can move, virtually everywhere with trains? It's planning. It's planning. But even then, like if the population is so high, all right, it will be very difficult to manage that transport system. So, okay, Zelensky next view population geography as a science that deals with how the geographical character of places is formed by and in turn react upon a set of population phenomena that vary within it through both in space and time as they follow their behavioral laws, interacting with each other and with numerous non-demographical phenomena. Okay, population and location. All right. Natural and social economic factors determine the distribution of population. I'm giving the example of Lagos. Why is everybody in Lagos? The jobs are there. The jobs are there. All right. So, um, so natural. All right. Natural. Look at crude oil also. Look at South South. All right. The reason why you have the kind of population you have in places like Port Harcourt especially is because of the natural resource. In the in the states and nearby states. So you have the crude oil, you have the gas, natural resources, natural factors, social factors, all right, economic factors. So in Nigeria, for instance, the highest population densities are found where land is suitable in terms of soil fertilities. Can we plant? Can we grow raise crops here? Appropriate terrain, friendly climate and drainage, and natural resource endowment. Also, high population densities are found in Hausa and Yoruba areas because of their history of domineering kingdoms and aggregation of population. Lastly, areas where a lot of development investment have been made attract a lot of people. So you have people wanting, to be in Lagos, Ibadan, Kano, Enugu. All right. So population growth most of the time is dependent on, all right, what do I have to gain if I move to this location? All right, what is my benefit? All right, if for example, my office is transferring me, or me, I'm in place, I'm in need of a job, where do I have to go? All right. Look at even the jackpot syndrome that we have happening in Africa, especially in Nigeria today. What's the motivation? All right. What are the top 10 jackpot destinations? Why are people picking those countries? These are things we have to ask. Why are people picking, all right, America over Canada? Why are people picking Canada over New Zealand? Why are people picking all right, New Zealand, all right, over Italy. Of course, there are hassles, all right, which people that are making those choices, all right, they have the, so now actually now you have a lot of migration consultants all over social media that people are telling you, okay, this is okay, this is the best way to chapa to New Zealand, this is the best way to chapa to Canada and the rest. So there are reasons, there are points of attraction. So that's what I'm going to say. All right. So when people move either within Nigeria or from Nigeria to another country, there's something either natural or social or economic, all right, that is making them to make those decisions. So spatial distribution of the population reflects a pattern of development and resource distribution and coincides with the homelands of major ethnic groups which dominated the political scene in the past. So the creation of states and local governments are attempting to redistribute populations. All right, look, for example, Osun State was carved out of Oyo State. All right. So the moment Osun State was created, a capital was created. Now that capital being created moved lots of people from Oyo State, actually from Ibadan to Oshogbo. All right, Oshogbo being the new capital of Osun State. A lot of civil servants are state Oyo State civil servants that are now in indigenous of Osun State. They have to move. All right, so creation of states, all right, actually help to redistribute population. Okay, look at Abuja. Maybe Abuja will not have been as developed as it is today, if not that the capital was moved. All right, the FCT was moved from Lagos. And the moment the FCT was moved from Lagos, all right, to Abuja, automatically Abuja became a magnet. All right, so for people from all over the country, all right, started moving to Abuja naturally because that is where the seat of power is. That's where the seat of government is. All right, even expatriates. All right, even expatriates, people from other countries, embassies. All right, embassies that most likely will now be in Abuja. Now they're here now. Almost all the embassies are here. All right, almost all the embassies are in Abuja. All right, so creation of states, creation of local governments, all right, can affect population density. However, the densification process continues without radical measures to control the pattern, which have debilitating effects on the spatial economy. So everything must be planned, even population density, population distribution must be planned. Fine. Tutor mark assignment, you can pause the video here. Define the time population. Two, discuss the interplay between population and locational attributes. Okay, so you can pause the video and go back what we discussed on this. Okay, we'll move on to Unit 2. We are moving forward. Population growth and factors affecting population. It's noted out of place to say that population growth is determined mainly by birth rate, death rate, migration pattern. All right, so of course, birth rate is a factor. The more people have children, the higher population. Death rate is a factor. The less people are dying, the more the population. The more people are dying, the less the population. Makes sense? All right, migration pattern also. We talk about the Japa syndrome in Nigeria. All right, and that's another topic. The effects, all right, on Nigeria economy, the effects on running the country itself. Okay, so for instance, population in developed countries growing at the rate of only 0.1% per year, while in developing countries, the growth rate is over 1.5% per year. Look at the disparity. Estimation reveals that by 2050, the world population will be around 9.1 billion. The distribution of the urban population is also changing with the less developed regions and the more developed regions. So birth rate, death rate, migration patterns will definitely have an impact on population growth. Asia is a major region of urban growth, whereas in 1970, Asia was home to 503 million urban dwellers. All right, by 1994, all right, the 1.2 billion of 2.5 billion global urban dwellers were Asia. So it has increased. It's anticipated that 2.7 billion will live in Asia by 2025. Okay, Africa indeed exhibits the fastest urban growth rate of any major world region. From 84 million urban residents in 1970, Africa by 1994 had 240 million, and by 2025, the number of urban dwellers is expected to reach 804 million. Wow. Among the factors that determine population growth include industrialization and urbanization. All right, industrialization. I gave the example of you know, of South South, Paracots, all right. So the oil companies, the oil industry is attracting people. Okay. I gave the example of Lagos, all right, the urbanization, all right. Even Ogun State is also helping them. So you have a lot of factories, right, in Ogun State right now, a lot of universities are in Ogun State, and of course, so that is changing the population dynamics in Ogun State. Natural disasters. So if you are living in a place where there's always earthquake, maybe once in every 5 years, people definitely will move. Volcanoes, people will move. Cyclones, landslide, and flood. All right, maybe even things like wildfire that it happened in Los Angeles. All right, this year, a lot of people, so many houses were burned down by wildfires in Los Angeles. So you want to look at a lot of people, a lot of celebrities would have left Los Angeles this year, right? Choosing to just move away because the wildfire is almost just basically consistent over the years. Poverty, all right? Culture, politics, and governance. These are things that, all right, can affect population growth. You have all over the world, right? You've got governments taking over, and you have mass states. So you have a leader, you know, more or less, wiping out millions of citizens for what reason or the other is happening. It's there in history. All right. So it's also a factor, all right, that can either help or work against population growth, socioeconomic attributes. So if I move to this location, am I going to survive? Am I going to live well? All right. Social amenities. That's one of the reasons why people are traveling. All right. So you go to Canada, they have one of the best, educational system in the world. Security is top notch. America, all right, you call 911, all right, within minutes, all right, response officials are there, all right. So these are motivations. Climatic and topographical condition, all right. How good is the climate? Okay, transportation is it accessible? I give the example of a city in Germany. All right. Every 10 minutes, you have trains everywhere. All right. Security. All right. Cultural attributes. So these are things that determines whether a population is growing or not. Effect of population growth. I think I've talked about that. All right. I've talked about the Malthusian theory in economics. What that man basically predicted is that if the population is growing unchecked, you're going to have an explosion, right? You're going to have famine, you're going to have wars to reduce the global population. All right. The people are saying that his theory did not come to pass, but in one way or the other, it did. All right. Look at World War I. Millions of people died all over the world. People killed themselves for nothing. All right. And less than 40 years after World War I, people are not tired of killing themselves. It started World War II. All right. Mass destruction everywhere. Mass destruction everywhere. All right. So there's competition, right? There's competition. Competition increases. There will be competition for food. There will be competition for resources. If you look at many wars going on all over the world, many of them are wars for resources. All right, many wars are wars for resources. If you really check on the line, the underlying cause of the war, it's because that many of them are wars for resources. So population must be maintained at a level so that natural resources are sufficient. So if you have a population, you're going to have anarchy at the end of the day. All right. So if effects of population growth, you're going to have depletion of natural resources. So people The water sources are over depleted. All right. Fossil fuel like crude oil, all right, is overused, over depleted. Deforestation. So everywhere people are cutting trees. So to make room for roads, cutting trees to make room for factories. All right. Pandemics. All right. So disease outbreak. Look at what happened in 2020, the COVID-19, food insecurity. All right. Because there are so many mouths to feed, unhygienic living conditions. So you have slums, even in cities. All right. Even in the first world countries, you have slums. All right. If you look in the other places, you see slums. So many places in the first world countries, people, homeless people. All right. Loss of biodiversity and habitats. All right. Insecurity or increased crime. That happens a lot in cities. All right. Increased unemployment. All right. The employment jobs are not enough to go around. So, stock market assignment, we want to pause here. Also, I check. What do you understand by population growth? Then mention the effects of population growth. I think that should be easy for you to answer. Now, okay, so let's look at unit three characteristics of developed countries. All right, characteristics of developed countries. Let's look at this. So, what makes a country a first world? All right, what makes a country a third world? So efforts toward development are expected to be a major priority or concern of every nation. It's supposed to be growing, it's supposed to be developing, it's supposed to right have landmarks of development. Through the experience, though the experience of the 1950s and 1960s, when many third world nations recognized that the economic growth targets were not realized, rather the levels of living of the masses of people remained, for the most part, unchanged, signal that something was very wrong with the narrow definition of development. So during the 1970s, economic development came to be redefined in terms of the reduction or elimination of poverty. So if we say you are developed as a nation, what is the status of people relating to poverty? How many times are people eating in a day? And what are they eating? Right? Because you can be eating 3 times in a day and you are eating nonsense. Okay? Inequality. All right. So what is the gap between the rich and the poor? How wide is it? How wide is it? Okay. Unemployment within the context of a growing economy. So you look at these indices. All right. World Bank, they have what they call ADI, Human Development Index. All right. So what is the quality of life? So in many undeveloped countries or developing countries, people live from childhood to adulthood to old age and death. They live their lives in poverty, never experiencing abundance for a day. It's sad. So it's also worth mentioning that development has been treated by economists as if it was nothing more than an exercise in applied economics or related to political ideas, forms of government, and the will of people. So it's not development is not theory. It's not we're not talking PhDs here. All right. We're talking about human lives. All right. We're talking about the quality of lives. People are living in a nation. And that's why this issue of migration, this japa is not going to end soon, all right? It's not going to end sooner. People are aspiring, people are restless. People want to live better lives. And if the governments of the countries where the bond cannot provide it, they're going to migrate to the states, to the nations, where the governments can provide that for them. Okay, so it's however imperative to view development from more dynamic perspectives. This can be accomplished if the following about development is addressed. So poverty, like I've mentioned, security, infrastructure, medical, health, okay, recreation, leisure, unemployment, persistency in regional and human inequality gap, the gap between the poor and the rich. Development cannot be said to be achieved in a country or nation where one or two of these central questions or problems have been growing rapidly. Okay, according to post-treating, development must be redefined as an attack on the chief evils of the world today, malnutrition. So, and people eating what we call balanced diets, right? So, if you're going to eat, all right, a bar or fufu or two, with what soup? with 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 how many fish, right? With how many fishes, how many pieces of meat, all right, or which type of fish. These are things that they look mundane, but this is life. It's life. So you have people eating three, all right, 3 months of fufu, all right, without meat. All right, so you have children, you have 4 children in the family sharing one meat, and the mother is using her teeth to share it among the children. Unfortunately, that is how many families are living in Africa. So you have diseases, rampaging communities, illiteracy, slums, unemployment, inequality. All right. So development, this is how you look at development, how you are able to attack these things in societies. All right. So you have to measure in terms of jobs, all right, justice, elimination of poverty, all right. How are we able to create jobs? All right. Do people have access to justice? And have we eliminated poverty? So based on the above clarification of the term development, it's easier to relate the above with countries or nations. Thus, developed nations can be viewed as advanced nations. Developed countries can be viewed as advanced nations or countries. Different interesting adjectives are often used to describe developed countries. Among others include sovereign states. So you can't just harass them anyhow, all right? You can't just harass them anyhow. They have the means to defend themselves, all right? Or they have the means to fight back. Sovereign state, all right? Develop economy. The economy is matured. They are technologically advanced, all right? So you are technologically advanced. They are capable. They are stabilized nation. So you have countries where democracy, they've been doing democracy for over 100 years. Unbroken democracy. So you can imagine. No, nothing like, coup d'etat. All right, 100 years, just straight. So as it's matured. Sustained economy, states or nations. These are indicators of a developed economy or developed countries. Okay, so a developed nation or economy is one with sustained economic growth and development, improved security, all right, high per capita income, all right, advanced or improved technological infrastructure or facilities. These are indicators that the country is developed. Okay, so look at the indicators of developed nations. Political stability. So it's not a matter today. Just one coup d'etat has happened. All right, so there is war somewhere in attempting to overrun the capital of the nation. Okay, so the GDP, gross domestic product, is very high. All right, employment is there. All right, poverty level is low. Technology, infrastructure technology is high. All right, so you have trains, you have rail system, you have lights. All right, everywhere. All right, services facilities are available. Population growth is managed. All right, security is high. Environment is sustainable. The economy is improved. These are indicators of developed countries. All right. So according to the UN Development Report 2019, statistical update ranks each country in the world based on its Human Development Index. I mentioned that earlier, or ADI ranking. So the top countries in the world 2019 report is Norway, Switzerland, Ireland, Germany, Hong Kong, China, Australia, Iceland, Sweden, Singapore, the Netherlands. All right. So according to the 2019 UN development reports. Okay, so I discovered that all the things we discussed, all the characteristics we discussed earlier, you will find them in these nations. All right. I think I read a report, for example, Singapore at the time, that public transport in Singapore is 100% free. Why would, would people not want to, all right, migrate to a place like that? All right, Sweden, the education is, even up to university, education is more or less free. Okay. Uh, so things are happening. Germany, education too is very affordable in Germany, up to in our institutions. All right. I think there was a report I was one school like that. I think you pay 500 euros, all right, 500 euros per session. So you can imagine. So education is affordable, very affordable. All right. Norway Norway is also an oil producing economy, but they are very good. They manage their resources very, very well for future generations. They are not managing the economy even just for now. They are managing the economy for future generations. That's what make a country develop. All right. So it's all about empathy. It's all about connection for the people, making policies that are geared to change, to impact the lives of people. Okay. Um, Fine. Short mark assignment, develop the time, develop, right? Then list indicators that can be used to determine the level of development of countries. I hope I've done a good job on that. So you can pause the video and review, all right, the indicators. Thank you. So unit 4, characteristics of developing countries. Characteristics of developing countries. Okay. So developing countries are often called using different names. Least developed, third world, emerging nations, you're right, they want to be, nice. Low and middle income country, less developed country, less economically developed country, medium industrialized country, or underdeveloped countries. Okay, so it's pertinent to know that since the late 1990s, developing countries are associated with higher growth rates compared with developed. So they're just bearing children. Okay, so bearing children. It's also worrisome to know that developing countries have relatively weak institutional frameworks, all right, that can facilitate stable investment missions. So you bring foreign direct investment, then register a company, all right, and somehow, somebody mismanages the investment. Who do you go to? That's the question, right? Those institutions are not strong in many less developed countries. So the money is diverted, the foreign investor is alarmed, and it goes to reports to the authorities, and they say we are looking at it, we'll be looking at it, and that's all. So you keep going and keep going and keep going. And after some time, you accept your fate, then you go back to your country. So these are part of the challenges, all right? Lack of strong institutions, but you have strong individuals, right? That can just call somebody high up there and say that case, all right, is a dead case, don't try it. And they say yes, sir, yes, man. That's the end of it. So no justice. So they can be grouped based on geographical location or attributes, e.g., small island developing nations and landlocked developing countries. Okay, so you need to know that developing countries have some peculiar characteristics in common. So they have inadequate economic status, all right, low GDP per capita. They rely heavily on agriculture. And relying on agriculture is really not bad, all right? Like it has been argued by experts. The problem of Africa is not just relying on agriculture. The problem is we are not doing value adding agriculture. So you can say this country is the number one cocoa producer in the world. How much are they making from cocoa? That's the question. That cocoa is shipped to a company in abroad, and the company in abroad, a company, not a nation, the company that is now using the cocoa to make chocolate is making, all right, maybe times 100 of the money the country, has made, right? Selling the cocoa because they are not adding value to it. So we just, all right, just, plant cocoa, plant cola nuts, and we just ship it. We don't have processing companies. And it's those value adding that had value that increases your revenue. So if you are just shipping raw materials, you will not make money. Now somebody that is exporting, all right, either finished goods or semi-finished goods. That's the challenge Africa is facing. All right. So we develop basically on first level agriculture. We're just producing raw materials. So indeed, certain indicators or yardstick can be used to determine or describe the situations of countries. These basic features or characteristics include, but are not limited to the following: low standard of living. All right. So people are living poor quality life. Quality of life is very low, very bad. High rate of unemployment, low or poor access to safe drinking water. So water is not clear, it's not pure, it's not safe. All right, poor sanitation and hygiene. Okay, inefficient energy, as no light, no power. All right, high rate of poverty, persistent pollution. So you have air pollution everywhere, indoor air pollution, water pollution. You know, people just live with it. No, they just accept it. Increased road accidents, all right? And most of the time it's because of poor road maintenance, poor quality education, high dependence on agriculture. I've talked about that. All right. High rate of infectious disease. All right. So the health system is broken. Poor or inadequate infrastructure and facilities. Unstable political institution. All right. So you have, coup d'etat everywhere. Every election is war. Every election, all right, is war. People die just because of elections. Okay, high rate of corruption, unsustainable environmental management. Okay, so examples of developing or at least developed countries include Nigeria, Ghana, all right, uh, India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Angola, all right, and so on. All right, I think India is actually exiting that they are moving more or less gradually moving towards being regarded as a developed nation. It might take some time, like China took time, but they are moving seriously working on it. So I hope the rest, especially the rest of African nations generally, will wake up and see how they can ensure the quality of life in Africa uh, improves. Okay, fine. Tutor mark assignment, describe the time developing, then list examples of developing countries. I think that is very should be very easy. You can pause the video and check the explanation on that section. Okay, so model three, introduction to human settlements. Right, introduction to human settlements. So we look at unit one. Settlements can be viewed as a collection of people living in a particular geographical location or area. Virtually all the cities we are seeing today started as a settlement, virtually. So if we read or history a lot, you just okay. So I was talking about settlements. Okay, so I was saying that most of the big cities and towns we see today started as settlements. So a prince, right, was excommunicated and for one reason or another, just move out with his wife and children, and gradually they start growing and becomes what we see as a city or as a town today. All right, so settlements refers to places where people live. They are places that harbor people. They serve as protection or shelter for people. It was posited to be an organized group of grouping of women habitation. It could be temporary or permanent. So, for example, refugee, all right, refugee camps. Who stay there temporarily, all right. Even some workplaces like rig, for example, all companies go to rig offshore, and they are there for 3 months, right? 3 months or 2 months. They come back home. All right, so this could be temporary, it could be permanent, like what we have in a village or in a city. So the point is that where we come from and where we live presently are known to be settlements, either village or cities. The settlement pattern is the distribution of population, clusters of various sizes, or the nature of the distribution of human settlements. So a settlement can be rural or urban, all right? So, of course, the facilities, the amenities available, all right, is what will determine whether it is a rural settlement or urban settlement. Settlement patterns are influenced or determined by socio-economic, all right, physical, political, and network factors. Talk about all this. Okay. Settlement pattern analysis can assist planners and policymakers to understand the interrelationship between the pattern of settlement and level of development within that region. It can help to determine the degree of access that people in different parts of the region have to goods and services and to judge whether the access is adequate. So, for example, people that are living in creeks, for example, right? So they may have challenge of, access, right? Because everything have to go through the waterways. There are people too living in remote villages, all right? They will tell you that, okay, vehicle, there is I've been in a location at a time where, I believe things will have changed by now. All right, where uh, you know, vehicle they come to that village once a week on Saturdays. So that's when they have the market. So if you want to travel to that village, you have to go on Saturday. There's no vehicle, from Monday, all right, from Sunday to Friday. There's some environment like that because of the remoteness. Okay. So more importantly, the analysis can be useful in making decisions about the location of new investments and potential for clustering services and facilities in new ways towards increased capacity of human settlements to stimulate development. So when you want to cite maybe a company or a group of companies, these are factors. All right, you look at in placing, in determining which settlements are going to place that investment. In different parts of the world, the earliest towns and cities or settlements generally develop independently in various regions because they are isolated, all right? The isolated settlements. The important point about settlement evolution is agricultural revolution that involves hunting and gathering of materials for agricultural food production. It should be mentioned that the earliest evidence for urbanization can be traced to Mesopotamia and Egypt, all right? The Indus Valley, northern China, Mesoamerica. All right. These notable areas of settlements holds the world empire. So of course, we have world empires before now. Babylonian Empire, all right, which basically consists of the what we call Iraq today. You have the Persian Empire, which basically consists of Iran, as a country today. All right, Greece too have ruled the world at a time. Rome has ruled the world at a time. So there is history. We have documents that actually describe, all right, how people were living during all this time. So the first regions of independent urbanism were in Mesopotamia and Egypt. Okay, so it's imperative to know that cities are the engines of development. All right, so you can see that happening. If you look at Nigeria, you look at contribution of Kano, contribution of Port Harcourt, contribution of Lagos. All right, contribution of Abuja. All right, contribution of Enugu. What about Onisha? Look at the Onisha market. All right, biggest in Africa. Okay, so look at those major cities. So they are the ones that basically drive national development. However, failure to manage the impact of rapid and unguided urbanization is threatening human health, environmental quality, and urban productivity. At the time in Port Harcourt, if if you touch, just put your hand out in the hair, your hand will become black by soot. All right, soot from industrial activities going on in the city. So the most notable environmental and developmental problem facing the third world countries encompass what is referred to as the brand agenda, which is lack of safe water, inadequate waste management, pollution control, accidents linked to congestion and crowding, occupation and degradation of sensitive lands, the challenge of rapid urbanization, all right, will be to sustain economic growth while solving the associated environmental and social equity problems. So you want to have a balance. You want to develop the city at the same time. You want to also address the fallouts of development. If not, all right, it's going to end in premium tiers. So tackling the brand environmental problems, they therefore present a unique opportunity to improve health and living conditions, as well as increase macroeconomic performance in the rapidly growing cities of the third world. All right. So Summers 2010 affirmed that African cities are perplexed and dismayed many visitors and scholars. Similar to his view is the assertion of Simon 2004 that African cities don't work and that for many of our residents, life is reduced to a state of emergency. All right, it may appear this may appear as exaggerated, but if you look at life in many cities in Nigeria, it's quite challenging for urban dwellers. It's quite challenging for urban dwellers. All right, original density posits that African cities work, but they work for decay instead of growth. Wow. Hope 1998 also contains that African cities makes no sense in economic terms as they are more urbanized than their level of economic development would justify. All right. Kaplan and 1996 also describe West African cities as high density concentration of human beings who have been divested of certain stabilizing cultural models with no strong governmental institutions or communities to compensate for the loss. So you're having population growth, you are not having associated development with it. And so all you have, what the result will be, societal tensions and people living below acceptable quality of life. Urbanization is often linked to economic growth and in turn contributes to increased environmental degradation. Again, however, there is not necessarily a causal link. Some environmental degradation linked to water pollution and poor sewage treatment tends to increase with urbanization because the increased concentration of people strains the natural environment capacity to assimilate the human population's waste products. Now, there's what they call sink, SINK in environmental management. All right, a sink is um, a natural object that basically, treats waste. A very good example is the soil. All right. So if maybe you have a dead rat, you pick a dead rat from your house, you throw it away on the ground, even unburied. The soil will take care of it. It might take time, all right, for it to decompose, but the soil will take care of it. So it's a sink, all right. So if you just throw one dead rat, all right, uh, maybe a month, it might not be a problem. But when you now have 100 people moving to that community, and other people are throwing 100 rats, all right, to a particular site in a month, the health is going to be overwhelmed. All right. The same thing with water. All right. So in some communities, the water they are drinking is also the water where they are using to dispose waste. So you see the pipe from the houses, all right, the sewage pipe, all right, is pumping directly into the water. All right. If the population is not high, it may not have it may not have too much impact. Surely, if the water is a running water, because the water actually takes care of itself. All right. But whether running water or not, if the population starts increasing, all of them are pumping waste into that water. All right. And one way or the other, that water is coming back into the system. All right. Either through drinking or through bathing or whatever, they're going to have an health crisis in that community. Okay. So, so because the water is overwhelmed because of the population. So urbanization is an irreversible process of socio-economic, cultural, and political change affecting all nations and indeed the entire world. So we have different type of settlements. We have rural settlements, we have urban settlement, rural settlement. All right, we have urban settlement. Each of these settlements exhibit different patterns that can be used to describe them. For instance, most rural areas are noted for various settlement patterns, such as using the shape, internal structure, street layouts, like clustered. So you have a cluster settlement. What that means is, families live very close to one another. So either you have houses or you have huts, more or less, very close, maybe even in a round shape or in a square shape or side by side. So houses or buildings are surrounded by bushes, grasses, or fields. The setting of this type of village is a reflection of the layout of historical situations, nature of the land, economic issues, local or cultural attributes. So the houses are very close to one another. Then you have dispersed. So rural-based settlements, you are going to have wide gap between buildings. You might see, all right, one house, then you have to drive maybe for 5 minutes or 10 minutes before you see another one. You have to drive again for another 10 minutes before you see another one. All right, so that kind of arrangement is a dispersed settlement. All right. And it's also very common in rural areas because they have lands, they have space, all right, or like a place, or like places that are urban areas where they don't have space, so they want to maximize every. So you are going to have a lot of cluster settlement in urban areas, all right, but you can have dispersed settlements, all right, more in rural settlements. Okay. Um. Okay. So you see. Okay, diagram that shows the settlement pattern, right? So you have the dispersed, you see dispersed settlement, you see the house here, far away from this, far away from this, far away from this. You have nucleated. Nucleated is the same thing as clustered, all right? So you have the houses, maybe because they are friends, family friends, are all there, lack of space. So everything is clustered together. All right. I saw a house in social media recently where like most they say, okay, almost everybody in that city is living in that building. So it's a high-rise building. All right. I think in the Arctic, in Alaska, yes, it's in Alaska in US. All right. So it's a high-rise building there. Almost everybody in that community is living in that building. So that's nucleated or clustered. Then you have isolated. So from one region to the other, all right, the odds of the settlement is isolated. Then you have linear, all right, so you can see linear, all right, so this is the road. The houses are just side by side, all right, on the straight line, side by side on the straight line. That's linear. So you can see different settlement pattern, linear, isolated, clustered, or nucleated. Then you have the dispersed settlement pattern. I believe that is it's not so difficult for you to grasp. So tutor mark assignment, define the term settlement, mention and describe types of settlement. Okay, so you can pause the video here and go over what we've done to answer this tutor mark assignment. Okay, so I'll be stopping here on this course. I think we've come quite far on the course notes. So I'm going to conclude this lecture in the part two of this particular lecture, which uh, I will be making very, very soon. Within a week, you're going to get the second part of this video. So if you have not subscribed to this channel yet, please try and do so. My name is Akinwale Akindia once again. So if you have questions, all right, it's possible you might have questions on what I've discussed in this video. Please try and post your questions in the comment section, and definitely I'm going to respond to each of the questions as soon as possible. Thank you.